Just want to. I mean, I was watching the interview you did with Jesse, Love Jesse, which is a great interview. Y'all need to check it out. It's on the channel right now. It was y'all were talking about just influences and inspiration and game changers, pretty much everybody that y'all spoke about. And I'm just looking, as we're hip hop journalists at this point, where are the game changers? Like I said, when we did this show or started the show in 2020, there was a lot of game changing going on, and I understood that okay, hip hop right now looks very different than it did in 2019, or even 2018. But now it's kind of on the next person to change things up, and I don't feel like anybody's kind of taken on the mantle. And I don't think that the mainstream dictates that anymore. So it feels like everybody's kind of in flux. It feels like the people who aren't mainstream, they have their consistent audience. They do what they do for their audience, the currencies of the world, you know what I'm saying, the Conways of the world. Everybody is they're servants in their market. But when the utopias come, it's kind of underwhelming.
It's not kinda.
And you know what I'm saying?
No
and again, Rodeo's celebrating 8 years today. So, Travis isn't a new guy. I don't think he's at the point where he can kind of dictate the terms. Like, who's going to be the next person to kind of, I guess, take over the year? Like, who would we say, 2023, that was their year? Can we even identify that?
I don't think this is an identifiable year like that. The game needs some shaking up a little bit.
It does.
Somebody young needs to come in and shake it up.
It's wide open. Like, this reminds me of like a 97 going into a 98 type thing.
I think this is more like a 90-91 situation. It's like, no, the game could use, we're not going to get Tupac, but we could use a transitional figure right now like Tupac. Like, Tupac is the transition from the old guard to the new guard. We could use that transitional figure right now, not to that level because there's never going to be another him in my estimation, but we could use somebody, even like, how about this? Mike, you remember what it was like for us? Like when we were younger, when Drake, Kendrick, and Cole were coming up?
Yeah.
Like, we knew that the shit was about to be great.
Yeah.
Like, we need that again. Those guys are older now.
And I know people are saying stuff like the No Name album's fire and things like that. And there are some quality projects.
It's not shifting culture.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so what is missing on that level for it to be culture shifting? Is it the machine not getting behind the quality projects?
Mike, the music.
Do we need
like
the
that.
machine?
Mike,
the music.
The music got to be.
The music's still lacking.
Mike, Cole liked that on the mic. Like the Vilmatic mixtape. No, Drake liked that on the mic. Thank Me Later. Like, no, Kendrick liked that on the mic on Section 80 and on Good Kid, Mad City. It wasn't like, at the end of the day, Mike, it was like, no, these dudes fire. They're making fire ass records. Like, we was at work the other day and like, Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe came on and I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah.
Take the top to the super chat says 80s Redskins offensive line and late 90s Denver offensive line greater than the 90s Dallas offensive line.
No, but up there. They didn't have as many Hall of Famers. There's 3 Hall of Famers on that line. Stop that.
I mean, what do people think, man? Are we tripping, or is it like some great music, game-changing music out there that is not getting the proper attention? Because that's what we're here for, to talk about some of these things that might not be getting the proper attention.
If it was great like that, people would be slapping us across the face with it. That's what happened when some.
You're right.
Let's go back to when Magic 1 came out, Mike, where people were literally on the verge of abusing us to talk about the album. They're like, why aren't you guys talking about how great because it was that great.
Yeah.
When it's that great, people will let you know.
And they can't stop talking about it, and you can't avoid it. They can't
stop talking about it because they can't stop listening to it, and you can't avoid it.
I think this right here, man,
ain't nothing
at least
getting made like that this year.
Since we've been doing this show, at least.
And it's okay.
I think this is the most wide open opportunity that, like you said, a game changer has to just come in and do the DMX.
Get out my head. I was like, somebody could totally come DMX the game right now.
Right now.
Right now.
I mean, I don't know if the labels are out there watching. They probably know too because they study this. It's their day-to-day. Where is the next big star that's going to go out here and just change the trajectory of where hip-hop is going or needs to go, at least for the next 2 years? Because like you said, when Griselda was doing what they were doing, boom, they had shit locked for a good year or two.
And inspired a wave, but it inspired a wave. It inspired people like Styles and Havoc to do a project together.
Exactly.
Right.
Matt Max with the super chat says, LOL, you know Google says Barry played with 4 Hall of Fame linemen, right? Like, stop the capping. You
Name
40,
them.
still seeing stuff as a 12-year-old.
First of all, I was 14, 15, and 16. What? Hold on. No. He didn't play with no 4 Hall of Fame offensive linemen.
Mad Max,
for
you're
what
not going to
years?
let the NFL conversation go. Mad Max, do you think that there's somebody out here who is, taking over the game or who is not getting the proper light? Because what I was saying offline, I was thinking about Chance the Rapper, right?
Why?
Because they made Chance the Rapper the face of independent success. And I thought about Chance the Rapper. I guess let me do a little bit of backlogging on where that thought even came from. I'm trying to think of the last time the Machine actually got behind somebody that was supposed to be the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think Chance the Rapper posing as an independent artist was the Machine trying to get behind an individual that was going to, change the trajectory of where hip hop was going.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, well, he can't really be independent because independent people who have that kind of following and that type of success, they really don't fall off like that. They go and do what Currency and Wiz and these guys do. They have their fan base, and it's kind of unexplainable in the fact that Chance the Rapper was such a success as an independent artist but doesn't have that following. You see what I'm saying?
He did have that following at one point, though.
I'm talking about how did it not continue on. Could you imagine Tech Nine falling off?
Quality.
He can't. It doesn't matter what Tech Nine puts out. Tech Nine has a base. Exactly.
A core.
But that's what I'm saying. If Chance was really independent like that, his core would be stronger than that.
Well, people inside the Machine kind of supported him. Just real quick for Mad Max, the Detroit Lions have had 22 Hall of Famers. None of them played offensive line. At the time, Barry Sanders played offensive line. Mad Max up here making up shit. He doesn't have – there's not one player that played with Barry Sanders that is in the NFL Hall of Fame. Mike, meanwhile, in Barry Sanders' 10 NFL seasons, Mike, guess what he did? He made all-pro every fucking season he played. 6 times first team, 4 times second team. You want to pull up Emmitt Smith's numbers during that same time? Because he ain't
no.
Right.
I've had enough Barry Sanders
stop playing
talk
with me. 10
today.
years. 10 years all pro every year.
So y'all really want to get under Coop's skin, mention Barry Sanders?
Just lying. He said play with 4 offense Hall of Fame. No, not one. We got the whole stat sheet right here. Shit, wild.
I think the last person that they attempted to push forth, again, I think we spoke about this in a previous show, might have been Jack Harlow. But it's like, I mean, I know Drake has a new album coming out.
Last record was good, and Jack's album was good.
Yeah.
It's not culture or genre shifting.
What does the game need? Like, like we mentioned DMX.
50, Mace.
So you talking about some hardcore
Tupac.
shit.
No, I'm just talking about that person that just kind of comes in and it's like, oh, breath of fresh air to the game. You know what I'm saying?
What does a breath of fresh air look like at this point, though?
Now, we don't judge that because we're old. So it's like it's a young man's game. But somebody, there's somebody out there right now that it's like going to be the next thing, and it's just a matter of like them capitalizing on it. It's like, but it's not out and available to us. It's like I don't see something, or it could be somebody that's been bubbling for years that just needs to make that project that changes everything.
Well, that's kind of DMX, what he was too.
Right.
Firebird Phoenix with the $20 super chat showing love says, Mike and Coop, I just put my album link in the comments. Y'all check it out. He might be the next.
Like Jadakiss was telling this story, told this story one time about how like X was X to them in Yonkers for like 6 or 7 years before the deal. I just realized when he was telling the story, it's like, why is Busta Rhymes in the Rough Riders anthem video? It's because he already knew DMX, because DMX used to open for Leaders of the New School like in 1990, 91.
X had a deal with Rowdy.
Right. So like
when the Fugees had one.
Right. Like, so cats knew who X was for years. So it's like, Kiss is talking about how like you go to an X show like in Yonkers and it's like, oh no, the whole neighborhood is like there and like knows the words to the songs and like all that. So X was X to them. And I'm saying like that guy's out there somewhere. It just hasn't hasn't bubbled yet.
Mad Max with the super chat says, Mike, the game needs another Hove type rapper. Someone who is skilled, can talk fly, but be respected. Dot, Drake, and Cole, even though they are nerds, is the last to be on the degree the game needs NYC again. Huh. What do you think about that? You think that the game does need a New York rapper to come through and
Only New Yorkers say that.
think hip hop? Well, I
Only New
think that whole.
Yorkers.
I feel
Only
like
New
that whole
Yorkers say that
discussion
shit.
about hip hop being dead comes from the fact that nobody in New York was running it at that point. I feel like 50 was the last person from New York
Oh,
to
50's the
come
last
up and
person to
run it.
have the game in the chokehold from New York. Let's not get it twisted.
That was 20 years ago.
More or less. It was a 4 or 5 year run, so you can say 15 if you want to be fair about it. But it's been an easy 15 years
Okay,
since
well,
somebody from New York was that
let's
dude.
cut it off at graduation date because that's when the tides officially turned.
Right. When is
That
it?
was
06?
07.
07, right. So 07
yeah.
to 23. Yeah, 16 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So about 15, 16 years.
Ohio K with the super chat says, I missed last week's show, but I wanted to chime in about the posse cut topic. Big L had 8 artists on 8 is Enough off his first album. Yeah, that's hard. I don't know, man. I don't want to sound like this because I'm clearly not from New York, but I respect New York hip hop. My favorite MCs are from New York, and
Most of your favorite MCs are from New York. But
yeah, for the most part.
But for a lot of us,
most of my favorite hip hop albums are from New York. But I'm gonna say this:
that's the era we grew up in.
yeah, it is the
too.
era we grew up in. But I don't really see a New York rapper taking the game, and I think what Griselda did is doing is very special. I think it could have had more momentum behind it if New York City would have gotten behind it like they should have, and I think that not getting behind them was a big missed opportunity for New York to take the game back over, in my opinion.
Well, here's the. First of all, I realize that it's like the era that we grew up in, Mike. Even as Southerners, the hip hop we were really more introduced to was West Coast and East Coast.
Yeah.
It's like we were just having the chronic 2001 conversation during the setup, But quite frankly, the reason why I don't think a New York rapper is going to take the game is because for what New York clings on to, it's like, well, the guys that y'all are trying to replace are hard to replace, and that's why nobody's going to really take the game. 50 was the last guy, and probably the first guy where I felt like it's like, oh, well, he's the first guy to take the city that's actually not like the best rapper in the city maybe at the time that he's doing it, like lyrically speaking. You know what I'm saying? So the fundamentals of the game had changed. It's like if you go look at the lineage of it, it's like the Rakim shit.
Yeah.
To Kane, to Nas, to Big, to Jay, and then like to 50, and Jadakiss kind of sprinkled somewhere in there because his buzz was like that at one point. It's like, well, 50 is the weakest MC of them lyrically.
But probably the strongest song maker.
I was about to say, but he's the best hit maker of all of them too,
and the best hook guy too.
That's what I mean by
he
hit maker.
compensates for that.
Right, he made up for what he wasn't as a Nas and Rakim as a lyricist, and for what he wasn't has like a charisma, because he's not as charismatic as Jay. Even for as charismatic as he is, he's not as charismatic as Jay. So it's like, well, he doesn't have Jay's charisma or Jay's flow, even though he has a lot of charisma and he has a great flow. It's not Jay's. Lyrically, he's definitely like not a Nas or a Rakim. You know what I mean? Bar for bar, he's not fucking with Kiss. But it's like, oh no, the total package. Nigga can rap his ass off, does the hook, does the verse, can make hook hit records for other people. Like, he encompassed a lot of things, and quite frankly, they just haven't had somebody that well-rounded come out since him, and that's just a fact.
I think at this point, when we talk about, and we said that was like 20 years ago, we talk about a young person growing up in New York that's from New York, from the core of it. Who are they really inspired by, too? You know what I'm saying?
Definitely not. He definitely wasn't Biggie.
But I'm saying they can't be. You know what I mean? Like, that's like...
You know what? That was 50's thing. You know what 50 was? 50 was probably closer to Big in terms of just the well-rounded nature of it. That's what I mean. It's like, well, no, y'all haven't had somebody well-rounded like that.
Well, the thing is, I think that an up-and-coming New York MC at this stage and in this era, it's probably going to be more influenced by the South and possibly the West Coast than they are New York City, unless they're going to be more so local. You know what I mean?
Well, 50 was.
Yeah.
He even said on his album, I talk like I'm Southern.
Yeah. I mean, because that's the way I don't know if there's going to be a New York rapper, and even if we look at DMX and who he was, because I remember down here in Atlanta, they really was rocking with X because he didn't really sound like an East Coast rapper to them. So I'm trying to think of the last time that an East Coast-centric MC who wasn't doing a bunch of collaborations like Jay was doing actually took over nationally. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So
And just kind of kept those New York core roots.
I saw DJ Prince Namore made a comment that I would agree with too, and I mean, and this is where death does impact hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
If Pop Smoke and Nipsey were here, it would be different for both coasts relatively. Because
Yeah.
I do feel like if Nipsey was here, he would be that dude on the West, and that's no disrespect to Kendrick, YG, Schoolboy, like none of them dudes. If Nip was here, Nip would be the man, and it'd probably be the same thing for Pop in NY. The only difference between the two is that at least before Nip died, we were actually able to get victory laps, so we seen it come to fruition. It's like, yeah, he's that dude like we thought he was. With Pop, it's like we didn't get to see him really. You know, I don't feel like we saw his prime or saw his peak. And so Pop Smoke might be the guy, at least as far as New York is concerned, that, you know, and even 50 was co-signing. You know what I'm saying?
No, what's his name? 50 was co-signing. Who's the other guy that a lot of people say sound like Pop Smoke?
Who, Fabio?
Yeah, Fabio. I think
Fabio
that,
not Pop Smoke.
No, I know he's not, but I'm just saying, I think that there was an initiative to put a lot behind Fabio.
They tried, it didn't work.
And they really did.
Kanye tried. Kanye was part of it.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
Cardi tried.
It's not going to work.
I mean, honestly, Cardi might be the most hope for New York rap. But again, we look at Cardi, where's her influences? Because her influences don't seem to be in the tri-state area. Same thing with Ice Spice. Like, is Ice Spice really New York influence like that? I like from a traditional sense, I guess we would say.
See, that's what I mean about being New York influence. I've always told you this, Mike. It's like, well, Ray and Prodigy were always more New York MCs to me than Big and Jay and Nas were.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? Because there was something about the way that they talk was more succinctly like bound to New York and stylistically and the grittiness to it than those guys who I feel like made records for more masses of people.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I love New York being involved in hip hop. I mean, obviously it's the Mecca, it's the core. So I want to see somebody out of New York be big. New York City, I guess I would say, because clearly Buffalo's doing it, but New York City's acting like that's not happening for whatever reason.
I mean, Love said that they get a lot of love when we interviewed her.
Yeah,
you know what
well,
I mean?
that's
so
good.
I'm going to take the artist's word for it. So if an artist who's coming from upstate New York is down in the city and is like, nah, Coop, Mike, we getting the love. It's like, I'm just going to
I feel like they could get more as a fan.
I just feel like I don't. Right.
Yeah.
I guess from our perspective as media and as fans is that it's not enough love, though.
Yeah.
Like, I feel what you're saying. You're probably feeling the love. It ain't enough for us to be satisfied with it, though, because we think that you should be getting treated better, maybe. And I think that is like a New York City thing. But this is what I mean, too, is that when New York standards are so ridiculously high, because it's like, well, when you are talking about your 10 to 20 greatest MCs of all time, they are going to take up the bulk of the list, Mike. Mm-hmm. They are.
They put in the work.
And so, well, the standard is different because of that. So it's harder now than any other region of the country as far as rap is concerned for somebody to come out of the city in New York and to take the mantle like that, because to do that you have to add a bare minimum, Mike, to take the city, be 50.
Yeah. Mad Max of the Super Chat says, in an era of monotone melodic rapping, you need a skilled person to transition. Plus that kind of has to come from New York because that's the source.
First of all, it's not the source, but it's the first intelligent thing that you've said today. I want to thank you for saying something intelligent, because Mad Max is right. They need somebody skilled to transcend, specifically in New York City. That's what I'm saying. Is it's like, no, look at the lineage. 50, Biggie, Nas, Jay, Rakim, Kane.
I think 50 kind of is an example of somebody. I think 50 is a great example of a New York rapper that was transcending for that time period. Whereas some of the New York
DMX.
MCs were kind of like, still in the 90s type of flow. He went out there and transitioned with the times, but still kept it very New York.
Well, you see, here's what I'm saying, though. To transcend in New York, you literally have to show a skill set that says this guy is probably going to be one of the 25 greatest MCs who ever lived, because of where the standards are, because you have Rakim, and that's a top 10 MC, because you have Nas and Big and Jay. Those are four of your top 10 are coming from the city, okay? And then you still have Kiss. You got Ray. You got Ghost. You got 50. You know what I'm saying? You got X. I just gave you 9 guys. That's 9 of your 20.
Mad Max of the Super Chat says,
it's not bringing up Prodigy.
NYC shows Griselda mad love. Y'all talking about radio love, and NYC radio is ran by the South and the West. How did that happen, though?
When you're saying, listen to how crazy that sounds. The radio in New York is ran by the South and the West. Says who and since when?
And how?
How they do that there?
I don't know, man. I guess we came up in an era where New York radio was only playing New York shit.
Big cap.
And to even hear that people feel like the South and the West run New York radio, it's like, how? And honestly, man, how do y'all not run them off the airwaves?
That's
I don't
what I'm
understand.
saying.
Like, I don't get it.
Cause best believe what we don't be getting down here, Mike. Like for whatever we get down here, we don't be getting a bunch of New York radio down here.
But this is what I will say.
Like,
I will say this, and we talked about Stretch and Bobbito before we started this show. When hip hop was really bubbling in New York, it wasn't about what Hot 97 was playing. It wasn't about what, Power 105 didn't even exist. Hip hop was in the streets. And I don't understand how New York still can't carry on that mantra and even acknowledges Hot 97. Make Hot 97 do what the streets are doing. That's how it happened in the first place. Because initially, radio wasn't supporting hip-hop at all. But Run DMC was still doing Madison Square Garden somehow.
This is what I mean about how the love is there, but it's like, oh no, if y'all love Griselda like that, y'all wouldn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Pray for Paris would burn totally different in the city if y'all really felt that way about it. From a King to a God would burn totally different in the city if y'all really felt that way.
Exactly.
Because
Illmatic wasn't taking over the airwaves, but it still was what it was.
Mike, it created a bonfire that literally made it all the way down to North Carolina.
I mean, I don't know.
You were in Atlanta, but I was in North Carolina at the time. It's like, no. Niggas in every hood knew about Illmatic when it came out. Same thing with Ready to Die. Same thing with Southern Playalistic. You couldn't deny it. It was like a fire, Mike. It's like you couldn't miss it. It didn't matter if radio was playing or not. The street said you got to play this.
Mad Max says Charlamagne the God and Ebro run the radio. LOL. I mean, well, how do y'all let that happen? And even if they do run the radio, how
you not gonna let?
Why does that even matter? Right?
Yeah. Still supposed to. How about this? And this is our
Who
issue.
runs the clubs?
Well, this is our issue with how they do Big Boy down here, is because it's comparable issue to me. It's like, well, you can play whatever you like, but some of this shit need to be grandfathered in, don't it? Like out of respect, out of quality, out of consistent ethos.
Again, what are the people saying about this?
That's what I mean about the consistent ethos, because the consistent ethos of the people is like, we'll play that shit, not that bullshit.
Because what this sounds like to me, from what Mad Max is saying, y'all know that, Ebro and Charlamagne run the radio stations, quote unquote. Those are Mad Max words, not mine.
But they don't.
But y'all allow them to just feed you whatever is hot, as opposed to telling them, like, nah, you're not playing the right shit. And if you don't play the right shit, you need to get up off your spot or play the right shit.
Play that shit.
Like, I don't understand.
I don't understand what the problem
but
is.
again, that's why you had successful shows like what Stretch and Bobbito were doing from, the campus of Columbia University. And it made Hot 97 change up what they were playing, because they were getting Wu-Tang first. They were getting the Black Moons and all those folks first on a college campus.
Well, here's the thing. How about this? I mean, and we know this, Mike, as hip-hop heads. There used to be stuff that was New York-centric, but about the quality of what was being made, Mike, it made its way everywhere.
Yeah.
Like when you're bringing up Buckshot and Black Moon, it's like, no, I saw the video to Who Got the Props one time.
Exactly.
And I was like,
where's that at?
I got to go get that.
I mean,
that was it.
I remember seeing Shadowbox one time. I was like, I got to find this, man. Mad Max to the Super Chat says, you're talking about what the radio played. They don't even play NYC rappers who make 1 million views from drill, but you asking about Griselda. Well, again,
that's not our problem.
Yeah.
That's not our problem. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's your city's problem if they're not playing like the locals in the area like they should. That's what we're saying. It's like, that ain't our problem.
Well, how about this? And you're talking about radio guys and older guys, guys that are in their late 40s, probably early 50s or somewhat. What are the young DJs in New York playing? Like, where are the young DJs in New York who are dictating the sounds at these different spots, have their own shows that are on the grind? Like, yeah, if there's some young DJs in New York in this room right now, like, what are they playing?
People be wild.
I don't understand. Like, I think we've been, for a certain era, we have been so controlled by radio and want them to give us the food that, that's supposed to be good for us without demanding what they should be serving.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't either, man. But again, other cities don't operate like that. And honestly, I think that's why New York hasn't had that one in a minute.
I
I
mean,
don't
well,
know.
here's the thing:
Maybe
if you're a rapper coming out of New York right now, does it even behoove you to like even try to fit into that mold? You get what I'm saying? It's like the
exactly.
incentive to do it is being lost, is what I'm saying.
I think, when they mentioned the next Jay-Z and this and that, I think Mad Max said that.
That's not
What he
happening.
has to understand, though, is a big part of Jay's run was the fact that he was collaborating with people from the South, from the West. And he did Money Ain't a Thing. He did the High remix. He did these things to stretch out where
Correct.
many people, like the prodigies of the world, felt like he was watering down New York hip-hop. I remember that being a conversation at the time. So I don't know if you're going to get somebody like that in the form that you think you're going to get. You probably already got somebody like that. You know what I'm saying?
They could use a Future. Somebody
Designer?
No, here's what stop that.
I'm just saying.
Stop that.
He was a Future cover
That's
copy.
a ridiculous.
I know what you mean.
Ridiculous. What I'm
I had
saying,
to
they
throw
could
that in there.
they could use a Future for us, Mike. Future's never gonna make our top 5 rappers in Atlanta. Like for your or my list. Like maybe he does at 5. Like maybe.
I mean, objectively, but personally.
But
probably
personally,
not.
we
Yeah.
were raised on Andre and Big Boy and CeeLo and Gip, and so there is even a level of lyricism from our MCs in this city that we like. We talk about Sci-Hi on here with Frequency. We talk about JID's Ceiling on here with some semi-frequency. So Future probably not going to make our quote-unquote top 5 Atlanta rapper list. You know how I personally feel about Jeezy, and that's not even bringing Tip into the conversation. So he's probably not making it.
Right.
But Future done ran this city, Mike.
Yep.
And Future done ran this city without having to be the MC that Andre and Big Boy and Tip and Gip and Psy. He ran the city without having to do that.
Right.
Because he's well-rounded. He knows how to make a hit song. He writes a good hook. But Mike, he's got an energy and a charisma and a personality to him. And so for whatever people feel about these New York rappers on the drill scene, and listen to what I'm saying, they're not big as fucking stars as you think. That's why I'm saying, like, y'all don't have no Future, and that's really where the game is right now. The expectation shouldn't be to have an Andre or a Big Boy or CeeLo level lyricist,
They
or
don't
have
have
a
a Lil
Rakim,
Uzi.
or have a Rakim or a Big or a Jay or a Nas level lyricist. You can't have that, but you don't even have a Future. Where's your Future?
You're
at?
going back. They don't have a Lil Uzi. They don't have a Kodak Black right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I mean, that, I feel like that 2016 freshman cover,
Y'all don't have a school.
that shit changed things.
They don't have a Schoolboy Q, Mike. You feel what I'm saying? They don't got a Schoolboy Q.
You don't think Dave East is a Schoolboy Q?
I like Dave East, but has he made anything that's fucking with Oxymoron, Blank Face, or Crash Talk?
Mad Max to the super chat says, Mike,
Albums go hard.
we have an aux. Now we tune them out, and the radio is funded by solely labels. They're not playing records for the whites. They're not even playing records for the whites. Okay. Mad Max also says, that's why mixtapes are big in NYC. Okay, well, who's running the mixtape scene? And I'm glad you said that, because when you said Future, I'm thinking like, well, okay,
His mixtape is
fuck
what?
being national, who's actually running New York right now?
Right.
Like, what's the artist whose mixtapes are flooding in the city in a similar way? Like you said, 50. Before 50 dropped Get Rich or Die Trying, he had the city on lock with his mixtapes. Who is the guy or woman in New York right now who is locking down the city just on the city's level that we don't know about
That's
yet
what I'm
like
saying.
that?
This is what I mean about you don't even have a Future. Mike, I knew who Future was. I didn't realize Future was running the city. To my sister, who is now grown, who was in high school at the time, I'm taking her to a varsity cheerleading game, and she puts the Dirty Sprite mixtape in my CD player.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
She like, Coop, this nigga run the city right now. You old.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God. I'm like, that happened fast. I was like, when did I get old? She's like, yeah,
It
it happened
happens
fast, nigga. She's like, yeah, he running. She's like, this is it. Like my little, I'll never forget sitting in the car, and she told me, she's like, nah, Coop, this is it.
CJ Kid with the super chat says they play artists from the East with sounds that feel like they're from another region and not that traditional boom bap East sound like Ice Spice.
Somebody brought up Scarlip. I like Scarlip, and I follow Scarlip on Instagram.
I don't know enough about Scarlett musically to say if I like her or not. I think that, there's something there. There's a level of talent there, but
Yes.
I can't really make a judgment on it until, I hear more stuff.
I'm about to say, but where's the, like, I know that this is New York record, but like, where's like the verses and where like the appearances and stuff that's like, where, like, okay, let's go to Kiss right quick. Remember, we had a reason to feel that way about Kiss coming out of New York.
I feel like I know more about the personality than I know about the music.
That's what I mean. Like, so let's go to Kiss. Like, you remember when Buzz was working from Kiss the Game Goodbye and stuff? It's like, no, Mike, we was hearing stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and we had been hearing stuff for a couple of years.
What used to make you a fan of somebody?
I mean, it's just that moment where you feel like either they say some shit that you really like or they connect with you personally. For me, with Jadakiss, it was like when he said, I sneeze on tracks and bless you. I'm special. And if you like working out, then I'm going to stretch you. I was like, hold up. I was like, he might be a little different.
What made me a fan of people is either a song or me hearing them spit or a verse or a feature. We're going to get into the feature conversation. But I don't really get that from people who are coming out now. Like, how about this? You know what? I will say this.
Where's the
Rome
AZ?
Streets.
Where's the AZ Life's a Bitch verse?
I fuck with Rome Streets because of the music I've heard from him.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it's like,
fuck with Stove.
Those are the things that make you a fan of somebody.
Stove,
right.
Mike. I fuck with Stove because of what we've been hearing since Jose Canseco.
Exactly.
It's like, no, he's on Westheimer. It's like, no, like Stove is hot. Vogue
Amani
cover.
Caesar. You
Vogue
know what I
cover.
mean? Like,
yeah.
It's the actual performances.
99 Averex. That's what I'm saying. It's like I can name you the record that Stove is on because Stove is giving me a reason to be like, hey, I can't wait for his project to drop.
Exactly. And it's like now people try to sell you on everything other than the music and the performance. And I think that's what kind of makes things seem a little bit drier in that way. Now, I will say this about Atlanta. Hate it or love it, niggas going to come with some music. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not really about, parading somebody around that you haven't heard before. We don't really do that too much in the city.
You know what we have, too? And this is kind of New York-ish. It's like, we have people coming up on every part of our zones where it's like, well, Nutty is from the east side. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But he just did the record with 21, who's from the west side, but they did it on the east side and shot the video and stuff. It's like, oh, no, the city hear that and feel that and vibe with that. You know what I'm saying? It's like we have that in spades down here.
Right. Mad Max to the Super Chat says, Sleepy Hollow and Chef G, but they had legal issues. Pop was literally the future, and Boogie was and is King Chef G's probably my favorite. Okay.
It's not translating outside of the sphere like it used to.
I wonder why.
Some of that is just because a lot of great hip hop's been made out of New York.
You think that they're fighting against the legacy of the city?
That's what I mean about the standards, Mike. You're literally fighting against, you know what?
I think what you're saying, though, not to cut you off.
How about
this,
Mike?
I think you're saying that lyrics are a lot less important. And
that hurts New York City,
and I think that might hurt New York more than it hurts us, more than it hurts the West Coast, because we're more about a vibe, you know what I mean?
So we'll let a Future in, even though we know he can't rap with Andre and Big Boy.
Right, because it's more about the sonics of it, because we have a versatility when it comes to the sonics, where New York is so lyric heavy,
Right.
and they're going against that legacy. If you have an Ice Spice come out, it's like, well, she's not lyrically Foxy Brown,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
And how about this? Here's what it is. The love for us is the same. It's like, well, down here, there are people that love Future and Gunna and Thug with the same passion that we love CeeLo, Andre, and Big Boy. And
real talk.
We have motherfucking balance down here. We got balance down here. I told you, my cousin who put me on the hip hop, who put me on the Slick Rick, his son, Future's the GOAT. Like, I remember when he was younger and he used to tell me that, and I'd be like, you wild.
And he's like, no, I'm serious.
But I thought as he got older it was going to change, but then it hit me who Future was to him, and I'm like, he's my Andre.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his Andre. Like, the way I looked at Andre when I was younger, it's like, that nigga's nicer than everybody down here. That's how he feels about Future, and it's real.
Yeah, Mellow Ball was real when he went out there and said Future's greater than Nas. That's his reality.
He meant that.
Yeah, he meant that.
I'm not saying
he wasn't trolling.
And here's the thing about it. For their generation and how their generations moves, and for what they've been taught about the game, that makes sense for him to make that comment.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean about, well, we got a balance down here. The West got a balance too. Mike, they ain't had nobody with a social commentary outside of Kendrick that's even rivals Ice Cube and Tupac. They show all those guys love. Nip, Q.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They ain't had no Ice Cube on the mic since Ice Cube.
Mad Max of the Super Chat says, it's not translating because of the internet. It's hard to make a superstar anywhere. There's like, what, 5 and been 5 or 10 years. It's a cult era. Okay, and I could see it being a cult era, but again, I don't know if that plays well for New York. One of the questions I was going to have, or one of the questions I was going to put forth, is there a possibility that somebody could come out of New York and make lyrics important for New York again? And I say that respectfully because I know, like I said, Cardi B and I think Ice Spice are some of the biggest stars New York has, but they're not. It's not about their lyrics per se.
I almost think that's a dangerous proposition for somebody to come out and be that lyrical, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, so let's say somebody comes around with the level. They operate on a level where you can see flashes of a Cool G Rap, a Kane, a Rakim, a KRS, a bit like they register on that level. You know, immediately happens for registering on that level. When you gonna make Illmatic? When you gonna make Ready to Die?
You know what?
You gonna make Paid in Full and let the rhythm hit him?
Well,
you feel what I'm saying?
Based on that narrative, and I will say this about
you gonna make Ready to Die.
I will say this about what Mad Max
Reasonable
said.
Doubt, nigga.
I was gonna say this based on what Mad Max said. I do think that having a new Jay-Z might be the best that you can kind of hope for, and that's a long shot too.
But this is what I'm saying.
But Reasonable Doubt didn't hit right away. They could have a cult classic in their pocket and then adjust. You know what I'm saying?
Pause, Mike. People in New York did feel that way about Reasonable Doubt. It did hit them. So when you're talking about it didn't hit like that, no, you're talking about to the masses.
That's what I'm saying.
Reasonable, but that's what I'm saying. So when you're saying you need a Jay, it's like, no, understand how Jay started. That's Reasonable Doubt. So it's like,
I think it's plausible though to have a hit in the city and then start adjusting to the rest of the game more so than, like you said, making a Ready to Die out the gate. But that's difficult.
But here's the thing about it, Mike, and this is what I mean. It's like when you're asking for Jay. Jay had been around for a long time.
Exactly.
And put in the work for a long time.
Exactly.
Before that moment even happened for him. That nigga literally been hanging out trying to make it happen since about 87, 88. It didn't happen until 96.
I think Joey Badass was a big opportunity.
And that shit is not, that's what I'm saying about it's not happening, because most of the guys that made it happen, like, how about this, Mike? I mean, like Nas and Jay had to wait their fucking turn.
They did have to wait their turn.
They had to wait their turn. It sounds absurd to say that now, but back then they had to wait their turn. It's like, no, little nigga, get to the back of the tour bus. Let you kick a couple rhymes before we do the real rap songs that people came to see. Ain't nobody in New York doing that right now, Mike.
Thumbs up in the chat, everybody. I think the last time I really felt like that about a New York rapper that was coming up, like I said, I've been following Joey since he was 17 years old. But I remember Astro Kid was rapping crazy at like 15. And for whatever reason, it didn't translate. And I had big hopes for those guys moving forward. But like I said, when you have a 2016 XXL cover with Kodak's on that cover, Kodak Black's on the cover.
Star.
You got Lil Uzi Vert on the cover.
Star.
You got 21 Savage on the cover.
Star.
You got Lil Yachty on the cover.
Star.
You got Anderson .Paak on that cover. And New York's representation, I think, was Dave
star.
East. I think the Designer was on that cover.
It's very problematic.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, this group right here, that turned out to be the future.
How about this?
You know what I'm saying?
This is what I mean. Like somebody, how about this? No, this is different if Dave East makes the project that I feel like he's potentially capable of making. That's what I mean. Is it's like, are there people out there? It's like, no, I fuck with Dave East. I like his shit. But it's like, no, but you haven't made that project where it's like, oh, we gotta have that.
Stop everybody.
Stop that. Hold on. Stop what you're doing. He's made some records like that. He's had some appearances like that.
Right.
But it's like, no, it hasn't happened. I mean, and there is something to it, Mike. I mean, even when we talk about Method Man on here, it's like, no, that nigga may bring the pain. I'll be there for you.
He did.
There's a reason for the buy-in. Shadow boxing. The hook, the ice cream. The hook, the cream. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
The what?
The what? No, there's a reason.
M-E-T-H-O-D, man.
There's a reason. There's a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason. Give us a reason.
Mad Max to the Super Chat says, yeah, Mike, if they talk fly and have fun records, most most lyricist songs just too serious.
And that's fine. That's what I'm saying. But y'all 50, DMX, Mace.
Do you think some of the people who are bringing that
There's
hardcore
not even a
East
Mace.
Coast
How about this?
sound
They
back?
could use a Mace. That's what they really need. A Mace would work.
Well, then
right
you need
now.
a Puffy, to kind of bring all that together. What I was gonna say though, with some of this, I guess hardcore East Coast centric music coming back, do you think there's just not enough balance to have some of the fun records on there as well? Because Biggie had to do that too. Biggie was making some hardcore stuff, but he also had some, stuff that was radio.
I mean, Biggie really didn't find his balance till after Ready to Die. This is what I mean about the
No, it's
buy-in.
true.
Like Ready to Die is not some. All the songs on there are dark and dense,
It is a dark album.
except Mike on the original version of Ready to Die. All of the songs are serious except for Juicy and Big Papa. All of them.
No, you're right.
The rest of them are dense. Even the original One More Chance. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's not joking when he's talking. It's not like fun like the One More Chance remix is. It's a dope record, but it's not fun.
Right.
Yeah, Give Me the Loot, Machine Gun Funk, Things Done Change, Everyday Struggle.
But again, that's
Suicidal
Puffy.
Thoughts.
I think that's Puffy, man. I think that
Unbelievable's kind of fun, but that's just on some rap shit. It's fun.
I think that's Puffy though. Puffy went back, heard the album, you saw the response of the album. Was like, okay, we could tweak some things, we could remix some things here. Let's stay in the booth.
I think they just found their working synergy. It's like, how about
think
this?
so too.
I'm gonna let you make this street record big, but you got to give me this record. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I let you make Niggas Bleed, you got to let R. Kelly come sing this hook for Fucking You Tonight. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? If I let you make My Downfall, you got to go do this Notorious Thugs thing with Bone for me. You know what I'm saying?
You got to do More Money, More Problems.
You got to do More Money, More Problems, and I'm gonna let you do I Got a Story to Tell.
Yeah. CJ Kid with the super chat says Astro was on Mass Appeal too. Bishop Noir was dope too, but even with a MF Doom cosign, it didn't happen for him either. I guess the question is, why isn't this translating? And has the sound of hip hop changed so much that people feel like anything that's not this sound is some old nigga shit?
I never thought I'd say this. Is what they're missing not maybe even an MC, but a mogul to shape the sound? Because Puff did help shape the sound.
He did.
For whatever you feel about it.
And even what Jay was able to kind of pick up on, that was a
based
lane
on
that
Puff.
Puff said.
Yeah,
even
Jay-
if you look at If I Ruled the World from Nas, that's based on what Puff, laid out there.
Definitely blueprint plans.
Yeah, and shout out to the track masters because they're very pivotal in all of this too.
Yeah, all of those guys are. But
And,
I mean,
yeah.
maybe they're missing a mogul to help shape and craft like the future of the sound.
Who are the moguls in New York?
Because it's like even down here, Mike. It's like, well, Mike, where Future from? What? Who?
Yes, yeah, Rico Wade's cousin.
Okay, so he part of Dungeon, Mike. So the cultivation and the scope of even Future sound for the new era, it's like, no, he's new generation Dungeon family.
Well, who are the
Cultivated.
Who are the moguls and executives that are on the ground in New York in this generation of hip hop? Who are the Steve Stouts of this era?
No, Mike, that's what I'm saying. Is like I think the problem might not be
because the talent's out there.
Right, talent's always going to be there.
Yeah.
This goes back to Prince's thing when he's like, well, I made the music. The record label need to be like,
yeah.
I'm not a marketer. I'm not I'm an artist, right?
Yeah.
So my job's to be an artist. And so I think what's happened is because of how this game goes, the artists are bearing too much weight because there's Mike. You're right, Mike. Because it really just occurred to me. It's like ain't no Jay Prince. Mike, I'm naming everybody. Ain't no Jay Prince, ain't no Puff, ain't no Jermaine Dupri, ain't no Suge.
Yeah.
Ain't no, you know what I'm saying? Like these guys did help cultivate sounds. I know some of it comes with nefarious activities and nefarious legacies and all this, that, and the other. But Dr. Dre even has an executive help shape the sound. Like guys who help shape the sound matter. Steve Stout.
Yeah, I was going to say Steve Stout's important. Puffy's important.
Yeah.
Track masters are important.
Track masters are important.
Who else am I thinking about? Dame Dash is important. Biggs is important.
Yes.
Like, where are those guys for artists in this era?
Right.
I think that ASAP Yams was supposed to be that, and he has untimely passing.
Where's the DNY for Rough Riders?
Exactly.
Where's DNY? DNY's the one that made that shit shake. They're the one that got the locks out. They're the one that got the locks out the Bad Boy deal. They're the one that the streets can't.
I mean, they made the DMX thing happen. Let's keep it real.
They made the DMX thing happen.
Yeah,
like
because they were with X when he was going through the Rowdy deal. When nobody wanted to sign X, they kept X on that track. So I think right now what's happening is artists are being asked to take on too much of the business side of it and the brunt of those things, and it's not translating. Whereas, like you said, with those individuals in place, artists were able to do what they do best, and those guys were able to go find and cultivate acts. And I don't want to miss another one. Irv Gotti's important as well.
Yes.
Very important.
Very important.
Without Irv Gotti, we don't get Jay on Def Jam. We don't get
DMX.
Yeah.
Irv
made that happen.
Right.
Where's the Irv Gotti of this era?
Well, here's the thing. What happens when you get these guys, because these guys are visionaries and have a vision, what you get is a team.
Yep.
Like it's not just that Puff was a mogul. It's that Puff went and got the hitman. Oh, no. I need Easy Mo B.
Bringing the dream team.
I need Stevie J. I need Nasheem Myrick. I need Derek D. Dot. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. I need everybody all in. Total, come sing right here. Kim, we about to work on your project in a minute. Junior Mafia, over here to the side. Yeah. Big, please step to the front of the mic all the time, Big. Big, step to the front of the mic all the time. Locks, watch what Big is doing. You feel what I'm saying? Craig Mack, this situation not working. You're going to have to go. You know what I'm saying? Rest in peace.
Speaking of which,
man. A mogul thinks that way. This is what I mean. So the game might not be missing the talent. It might be missing the person that thinks that way and pulls those
things together. They could cultivate the talent.
Steve Stout is like, no. Illmatic didn't sell. So we're going to promote your album by making it seem like people got parking tickets, except for it's an ad for it was written on it. It's like, your shit going to sell this time. You want to know what? Lauren's on Columbia. She need to come sing a hook. Fuji's popping right now. Yeah.
Steve Stout's gift is in marketing. He's able to bring the brands and the artists together, and figure it out those ways.
He marketed it like parking tickets in New York City. It's genius. Because everybody's going to see that shit in the car. Be like, what the fuck? It's perfect.
You remember the
marketing genius.
What Puff was doing with the Big and Mac thing, and with McDonald's, the
Big
Mac shit. So
even getting the whole Bad Boy symbol created, which is pretty much just a ripoff off the Illmatic cover. Like,
who do you think has the best logo? I mean, because people don't really do logos anymore, right? That Bad Boy Entertainment logo was always hard to me. I remember the Naughty by Nature merch and shirts and stuff before merch was even a thing, like with the baseball bat and all of that. Like, who do you think had the dopest logo as a label and as a group?
Mike, there's just something about the Death Row symbol and Tupac wearing the Death Row chain that it just kind of stuck with me. So I would go with the Death Row logo.
That's a good one.
The Death Row chain.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Public Enemy.
Okay. I'm with that. I'm with that for if we're talking group for a logo, but if we're talking about the company logo.
Are you talking about labels? I always like Def Squad's logo, but I might go with Bad Boy. I thought the Bad Boy shit was hard.
The Bad Boy is the Illmatic ripoff, so I can't give it that. There's something about like Death Row, and when Pac finally went over there and he's like wearing the Death Row chain, I'm like, yeah, that's it.
The electric chair is wild.
That's what I want to be.
I love the font.
I want to be him when I grow up. So
if we want to be, you got on one of the most iconic logos on your shirt right now.
This is the most iconic logo that any group has ever had. Right here, this
W. I think number 2 would be Run DMC.
Well, this W goes across the world, not just across the states. So
I would say Run DMC would probably be after that because.
Okay.
What do you think about the Def Jam logo? Or the Rockefeller logo?
Def Jam.
I like the Rockefeller logo with the record player and all of that stuff. I thought that was dope.
No. I like the Rockefeller logo too.
It translates well with the chain and all that stuff too.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, those are little nuances in hip hop that we just literally don't get anymore. And I know people think that we talk about yesteryear, but you know what? Yesteryear had some exciting nuances that we just don't have anymore.
Big deal when Tupac put on that Death Row chain. That's what I'm saying. That was a big deal.
Even when we talk about the best features, who would you say has made the best feature verse on a hip hop song in the past 5 years?
Best feature verse?
In the past 5 years. Well, 5 years to take us to 2018. Then I would go, what would Meek do possibly with Kanye? But that's just without thinking. But
Rakim on Busta Rhymes is ELE too.
Okay. But again, it's somebody from a previous era. I'm talking about somebody from this era. And Kanye's clearly not from this era either. They don't even do features like that anymore. Let us know if we missing something out here.
It's a fascinating question.
Yeah, since 2020, who would you say has had the best featured appearance on somebody else's shit? Is it J. Cole?
God, Pusha T's not from this era either. Neither is Kiss. I was actually thinking
I don't
about.
feel like J. Cole's from this era either,
No, he's
technically,
not.
but you know,
No, he's not.
he's almost 40.
He's
Yeah.
not. I was following J. Cole like on the early hip hop internet sites, like
Right.
hiphopsite.com and shit like that. Like, yeah.
Let's do it like this. Anybody who's come out since 2020, what's their best featured appearance on somebody else's shit? Because even when I talk about that,
Stove on Jose Canseco is who comes to mind. That's why I like Stove. Is that when I heard that, it's like I was like, I don't know who that is. That guy is star.
yeah,
That's the last time I felt that way about hearing somebody new, is when I heard Stove on Jose Canseco. Remember, I was texting, I was like, Mike, I was like, I don't know who this guy is. What'd he say? Louis V jacket. I'm Ron Burgundy. I was like, hold on. I'm like, hold on. I'm like, dude got style.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? He's the last person. Stove is the last person to hit me that's new like that, where I'm like,
yeah.
I want to hear that guy.
And you know, it's been 3 years since 2020. We shouldn't be struggling this much.
Stove's the
to
only
find
person.
somebody.
Stove is who comes to mind, Mike. Because I mean, when did what was that? That was Fly God 2, right? That was 2020,
That
right?
was 2020.
Yeah, Stove, Mike. Because Stove has actually had a run of them. That's what I'm saying. It's like he's got Jose Canseco, he's got 99 Avarex, he's got Vogue Cover, Westheimer. He's on Blow for Blow with Rome and Benny.
Shit crazy.
Mike, that might have been the best punchline this year.
The Magic? Well, that was last year.
I'm talking about cocaine fell out the pot so hot. Cookie still was good on Magic Johnson. It's like I was like, that's the guy. That's the guy that I like.
Yeah, people are saying that this era just doesn't have that level of talent. I don't really believe that per se. I think the talent's there. I think that it's just coming in a different form. And like you said, I think there isn't the talent that cultivates the talent. I think that sometimes we underrate the position of somebody like a Puffy or somebody like a Suge too.
That's what I'm saying, because Big wanted to release Machine Gun Funk, Mike.
Yeah,
I love Machine Gun Funk. No.
Yeah, but if you leave it up to the artists, stuff like that happens.
And no again.
Right now, it seems like the artists are moving independent.